Not just VFR, the 1,000-foot ceilings and 3 miles visibility. We're talking VFR up to and including the cruise altitude that you're flying at.
That is super important. Or at least a descent from the minimum en route altitude.
Ready.
Welcome to Opposing Bases Air Traffic Talk, an aviation podcast by two air traffic controllers and rated pilots who love to talk about flying, controlling, and everything in between. The show is for entertainment purposes only and should not be used as a substitute for your instructor, your supervisor, the FAA, the NTSB, or your CAT. The show will give you a better understanding of how things work in the National Airspace System and maybe even make you laugh along the way. Please welcome retired Army pilot Alpha Golf and first officer at Penguin Airlines, Romeo Hotel.
It's Saturday, November 22nd, 2025, episode 413. On today's show, we'll share a great story of pilot-controller teamwork, show you the magic of protecting a non-towered airport's airspace, and answer more of your aviation questions. What's up, BG?
Hello, everyone.
Happy Saturday.
You left a word out. You said more of your aviation questions, and you didn't say feedback, and it really threw me off.
You're following along. Look, I'm just lucky to be getting...
I'm sure how to behave right now.
I'm lucky to be here to get through the opening. We made it.
We did. I know, after last night. Oh, my word.
For those that were not present for the technical snafu last night, briefly explain what happened. Yeah.
I don't really know. Something, I guess, on my computer was glitching out, or I just could not hear you very well and see the video. Everything was super digitally jumpy, some sort of latency connection problem. We had some amazing help in the chat room. Who is now our official IT person. Is back in the chat today, early in the morning.
We have their phone number.
Pacific time. Yes, we do. And actually, everyone has their phone number.
Yes. They made a guest appearance last night and walked us through some of this stuff. Thank you for that.
Yes, thank you.
All right, we are pre-Thanksgiving. That's next week. That's why we're recording today, where we tried last night. We have busy weeks next week. The shutdown is over. Any closing words on that you want to share?
Yeah, that should never happen again. Man, it just introduces a ton of additional stress that really should not be necessary. We are getting paid again. However, that's even not without its issues, because instead of just cutting you normal checks, like, hey, this was your thing from a month ago, and here's the other one we missed, and it's just a normal check. No, it can't be that way. For some reason, it has to be, here's a 50% of your gross, no deductions, no incentives. Just
a guess, basically.
Right. And then we'll settle up the rest in the next check. And it's up to you to go through it and make sure that it was right. So, like, I kept track of how many night hours I did over the last 40 days.
Right. Sundays, nights, overtime, all the things. Payroll is not simple. It's not just a plug and play, like, oh, they worked 80 hours in this pay period. No, it's very complicated. It takes a while.
Right.
It's better than the alternative. I'll play devil's advocate. The alternative is, fine, you want to wait for us to figure it out. You're not going to get paid right away.
Yeah, I get it. That's the point of it. That here's some money. Here's, pay your bills, whatever. To get you going, and then we'll settle up the rest later. It just makes it very tough to...
What should I expect? What's next? Right. To keep
and
track.
We have a calculator that's supposed to help you.
It didn't. I remember they did that last in 2019. Right. This isn't the first time this has happened to everybody. Yeah.
It's fine. I don't want to complain about it now. We got paid. We're moving forward. Hopefully it never happens again. I know there's legislation in there right now that prevents this from happening again.
Yeah, it takes the money from some other magic pot. Yep. Let's hope that gets through. And it seems bipartisan, which is good. That's always a good thing.
Right.
It has a chance, so cool. Well, we all appreciate your hard work during the shutdown, and thank you for going to work and doing your job as best you could.
Sure.
I'll only say one thing about it. I think it's very easy from the outside. If you've, listeners of the show, we're normal people. We do normal things. We have families and lives, bills. People forget that controllers, it doesn't matter what category you've put them in, they're still humans. They have things that affect them.
Right.
And for those that think, oh, they make all this money, they must be okay. Well, okay, just ask yourself. Does it really matter how much you make? Are you able to go 6 weeks without a paycheck? If you can, great. But not everybody could do that. It doesn't matter how much you make. The more you make doesn't make that easier. It might actually make it harder. So just keep that in mind when you're making judgments about how the controllers acted and what they did to get through it. They're humans, and all of it affected them. So I want to talk about my never-ending sunset flight.
I would love for you to talk about that.
Okay. Because I plugged in the data after I landed, of course. Well, I didn't have access. We were going westbound during a sunset, very far north over the ocean, over the Atlantic Ocean. Mm-hmm. And on this specific flight, it's known that you're going to have the sun right above the horizon for hours. It's going to take forever to set. Well, that was happening. I came back from break. The sun had just gone below the horizon. And the further we went west, we had a tailwind, which is unusual going that direction.
Right.
We were going considerably faster than normal, maybe 100 knots faster than normal over the water. The sun started to come back up.
That is so crazy.
So I took note of my position and had AI help me later on. Long story short, our relation to the sun setting and the speed of the sun setting and our latitude where we were and how fast we were going over the water, we were actually traveling faster than the sun was setting, which is why it appeared to be rising.
Right. So the Earth is rotating at the equator.
Yep.
At like an equivalent of 900 ish knots, right?
Yep. That was very close, yes.
Okay, so the farther north you go and the smaller the circle gets, the slower the speed becomes.
Mm-hmm. And we were going about 40 knots faster than that.
Right.
So we were going...
Which is just insane.
We were watching because I said it out loud. I'm like, the sun is coming back up. I've never seen this. I probably won't ever again.
Right.
So it's about 5 o'clock Zulu time when this is happening. And it was awesome. It was, you're with another crew member to watch this whole thing unfold. It was right on the horizon, and it wasn't blinding us or anything, but it was beautiful. It was an awesome sunset, and it took about 20 times longer than the average sunset. Imagine that.
Well, I mean, in theory, you could just, if you could sustain that speed, right?
As soon as we turned left when we got over Nova Scotia, that killed our momentum. But if we had stayed on that lateral, on that latitude and kept going.
Like circling the North Pole.
Right. And we had aerial refueling, we could have watched it rise all the way again.
Think of the tan you could get like that.
Anyway, I wanted to share that. It was awesome.
Cool.
I have some legally taken pictures that maybe I'll share one day.
I really enjoyed the analysis, the degrees per hour, the speeds, the latitudes, the change in, just everything. It was really fascinating.
Yeah, very, very up to date and current information based on the fact that I got very good data from the system on the airplane. You could see lat long, and I could get very good speeds. I could see the wind speed. Just knowing where we were in position on the Earth made a big difference in the analysis. But yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, that's that. I got my landings. I'm current until February.
Yay.
Yay. Shall we begin?
All right.
All right. Since OB413, we have some new penguins on the iceberg. Juliet Lima, Charlie Juliet, Delta Lima, Mike Sierra, Kilo Kilo, Kilo Bravo, Bravo Mike, Alpha Lima, Tango Mike, and Romeo Bravo. We have some new ones from the last couple days. I'll be talking about those on the next show. We got a memorial form PayPal drop from Sierra Hotel in memory of the 3 crew members that perished in Louisville a couple weeks ago. And he left a note, Fly West Airmen, thank you. And for the families, we're so sorry. Yeah. All right, if you've been enjoying the show, you can take it to the next level by joining our premium feed on Supercast. Supporters get episodes on time with no delays, our back catalog, access to our live stream, bonus audio, and a direct line to us through our supporter-only email. You also keep the show ad-free and community-supported. You can learn more or sign up at opposingbases.supercast.com. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Review and announcements.
Review and announcement.
We have both.
Yay.
We're not going to read number 0, but you can go ahead with the review. How about that?
Okay, the review titled No Spoilers, 5 stars. Naturally, we don't read anything less than 5 on the show. So if you want your review to be on the show, make it 5 stars. Make it, fun. Something great that we'll read on the show. Anyway, here's this review. My favorite part of being a CFII MEI is that students constantly teach me new things. Recently, a student, Charlie Papa, helped to lift the rock that I live under off of me and introduce this podcast to me. I quickly donned my tuxedo and jumped on the iceberg. I'm slowly but surely working my way forwards. Currently listening to episode 58, about 30 episodes ago-ish. Notum novels. There was feedback of a gentleman in the FAA or NTSB retiring in 2026 who hopes to see changes to the system before he retires. I can't wait to catch up to the recent episodes to hear all about the new Notum system that must be out there by now. Please, no spoilers. Also... Right. Also, just wrapped up hearing about the government shutdown. Can't imagine that ever happening again. This is such an awesome show. Thanks for what you do, November Kilo. Okay, so you heard about the shutdown in the early part of the show. That one was only, if I remember right, maybe 2 weeks.
It was like 35 or 36. It was only 4 or 5 days last. But
no. Hang on. That was the one before this one.
Yeah.
But there was one before that one.
Yes. Oh, while we were recording, you think?
I thought so.
It's possible, but like one of those weekend ones.
Yeah. Something short. Yeah.
Yeah, we're, for all intents and purposes, for the public and for government workers, it has minimal effect. But yeah, I think there's been a few of those, the weekenders.
Yeah.
But that's interesting, though. That episode would have been around our first year, which was the 3 or 4 week shutdown in 19.
Oh, it was. That was the first year. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Interesting.
Thanks for leaving a review.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, announcements. Supercaster Juliet Hotel passed their private at the Delta under the Bourbon Charlie. You are the cheat code in making me feel comfortable with ATC as well as many aspects in the air. Now on to instrument and commercial. I can't recommend you guys enough. I think every CFI and pilot I run into that listens to the podcast, I recommend you first. Thank you. Cool. Congrats.
Awesome. Good. Thank you. Yes.
Number 2, Supercaster Mike Tango Whiskey. Just wanted to let you know that Delta Sierra and I brought in pizza for the Triad to the Triad facility on behalf of the Reno Flying Club. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
They sent a note, hate to miss you, Alpha Golf, unless you were there and just hiding. But I did appreciate the wall painting of RH with a shovel in his hand. Hallway leading to the tower.
Uh-huh.
Has that been graffitied since I left?
Just a little mustache on you.
Seriously, though, thanks for working through the shutdown and providing the same level of professionalism and service as you always do. Hopefully we are not in shutdown part 2 again in January. Mike Tango Whiskey. Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, we managed to fund the government for, like 2.5 more months. Wow, really good job.
Solid work, people.
Yeah, great work, government.
You're crushing it. All right, we don't have a Charlie Alpha segment. Moving on. Timely feedback. You want the first one?
All right, number 1 from Supercaster Charlie Kilo. I just wanted to make a comment about ILS at non-towered airports. We talked about this either last show or the one before that.
Mm-hmm.
We have a non-towered airport near my location. It never had an ILS or localizer until there was a member, speaking of Congress, a member of Congress elected from that community. Ultimately, that person became Speaker of the House. During their tenure, there was an ILS installed. In talking to several of the local old guard, this person did not like having to drive an hour and a half home during bad weather when they'd come in from Washington. Yeah. That must be nice. And, of course, that ILS was also able to serve the rest of the flying public.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, I'm sure, how they justified that.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
In their head.
Right. There's 52 ILSs run every year. He's on 51 of them. Or she. Right. And there you go.
Right.
Okay. I get number 2.
Mm-hmm.
From Supercaster Papa Victor. Okay, you sent 2 clips. The first one is a pilot getting flight following. It's not listening for their call sign and not responding to repeated traffic alerts and safety advisories. We have said this on the show many times. We're not going to play that audio. You can hear it in the controller's voice. If they could shake you, they would. I'll say that. The pilot is on flight following. Here's how this works, people. You have to listen for your call sign.
Yeah, you have to communicate. If I said this before, I remember this because it happened to me working.
Mm-hmm.
And there's traffic alerts. And I admonished the pilot on frequency. If you want to participate in the system, you have to be in communication. That is how this works. Otherwise, what is the point? I'm doing all this work to keep you safe, making traffic calls, turning other planes, and doing what I can, and you are not doing your part in responding.
Assume that you're going to get traffic calls when you're on flight following. That's pretty much the whole point.
Yeah, right.
All right. The second clip is a little happier. I was on an IFR flight plan and we put "We love ATC" in the remarks. The last controller that worked our flight that day noticed it and thanked me for including the message. I could hear the smile on her voice. P.S. My hope is by the time you air this feedback, controllers are back to getting paid while pilots ignore them. Okay. I'm ready to hit play on this audio when you are.
I'm ready.
1, 2, 3.
Tango, radar services terminated. Squawk VFR and frequency change approved. No traffic observed in the vicinity of airports. And I appreciate your notes on the IFR flight plan.
Hey, appreciate you. Have a great day, buddy. Thanks.
That was nice. Oops. You're looping.
I'm looping. I've stop you thing. Gosh.
Dear
It just doesn't
StreamYard.
understand. It only gets to go once. You don't get to do twice.
I wonder if they'd like this 11-second audio to just keep looping. Sure, that seems like the default position. Yeah, do that. All right, fancy jet music. All right, this week's show topic is called Story Time. That was the subject line of the email brought to us by Supercaster Alpha Whiskey. Do you want to get this picture on the screen?
Hang on.
Okay, while I start reading. All right, we're looking at a screenshot of the flight, roughly. We don't know what points they used to navigate or what other fixes they filed. It's an IFR flight, about 400 nautical miles west to east over the eastern portion of Tennessee, crossing the Appalachian Mountains to the Triad area towards an airport that is a satellite airport of Duke. They filed at 11,000 feet. And it's from a non-towered airport over to another non-towered airport. That's the gist of it. But halfway across, there's an East Coast mountain range. We'll call it that. Good? I'm going to go ahead.
Okay, I'm good.
All right. I wanted to share a story from a recent trip that I think your listeners would appreciate and hopefully gain some insight into what can happen and what to do if they find themselves in a similar situation. A dual vacuum pump failure in a Barron over IMC heading into nighttime. All right. Instrument conditions. Nighttime, an old vacuum pump equipped aircraft, a Baron, which is a twin, a light general aviation multi-engine aircraft. And they took off at daytime, probably aiming eastbound away from the sun, and it was dark at some point during this flight. I departed 1 Mike 5 en route to Juliet November X-ray around 5 p.m. Central Time, picked up my IFR clearance in the air and climbed through an overcast layer to 11,000 feet. It's an important point. That's why I highlighted it. Picked up the IFR in the air. It's not a big deal, but you climbed through an overcast layer to 11,000 feet. Keep that in mind. About 15 to 20 minutes after leveling off, my vacuum gauge went to 0, and I had a red indication of the gauge that both pumps had failed. We lose a couple of critical instruments in the airplane, for those that don't know. One of them being an attitude indicator, the other one being a directional gyro that relies on vacuum-powered instrumentation to keep doing its job as the airplane moves around it. Is that a fair explanation of those instruments?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Not long after, the attitude indicator started to roll over and show bad data. I quickly recognized that I had an issue and had to put down my beef jerky and trail mix dinner and focus on the situation in front of me.
That's the healthy version of the aviation special.
It is. It's a good one.
Yes, that's the not bad version. The normal aviation dinner is Snickers and a bag of chips from the vending machine.
I like it.
Yeah.
I disconnected the autopilot, told ATC what happened, and explained that I was VMC. That means I'm not in the clouds, on top of an overcast layer, and needed to stay in VMC conditions all the way to somewhere I could descend visually. Let's pause right there. Your reactions as a pilot and a controller for what's happened so far?
Okay. So as a pilot, yeah, I mean, that's what I'm thinking too. I don't want to go back to the clouds.
Mm-hmm.
My horizon, my artificial horizon is out. It doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
That's an important instrument. You can do it without that. But given the choice, I don't want to do that.
Okay.
I would prefer not to do that.
How would you react as a controller getting this information from said pilot?
I would start looking for good weather. One of the quickest ways for controllers to do that is for somebody to get on SkyVector or a similar application or website that offers a really quick shot of weather in those colored dots, right? So green. Now, the problem with a high overcast layer is you might have a lot of green.
Right. You have to do some data interpretation here.
Yeah, so now you're going to have to start looking at these airports and see what, you're looking for like a scattered layer, where that's the only layer really, or just clear. You might take a glance at the satellite imagery, and that might provide you with, hey, where does this layer end? Just to get an idea of how far this plane is going to have to go at 11,000 feet.
All right. They continue. I used my ADS-B in receiver and ForeFlight to look at ceilings, tops, and weather trends all around, and it looked like the nearest area with clear skies was 250 miles ahead, basically towards my destination. The controller confirmed what I was seeing, saying their supervisor was also looking for a place to divert and did not see anything closer. This is not indicated in the feedback, and it's possible it wasn't said. Don't take this the wrong way. I consider this an emergency.
Yeah.
The controllers are treating you that way when you're getting attention from somebody else at a desk and they're in teamwork mode. They're treating it that way. You don't have to say mayday, mayday, mayday and all the things, but they're going to treat you like an emergency at this point.
I agree.
Okay. So I stayed on top, coordinated with every controller along the route, and made sure they knew I was working with failed vacuum pumps and had no attitude indicator. My plan to continue on and divert if I was able to find visual conditions along my route. One more note I want to make about that. If you are experiencing an instrument failure in your airplane, find something to cover it up. It is extremely easy.
Yeah, don't go back to it.
Yes.
In a moment of, I don't want to say panic, but you go IMC, you're used to doing the scan.
Mm-hmm.
You go and look at that thing and it's totally sideways.
It's going to mess you up.
Oh, man.
It's going to mess you up. Nighttime, IMC, horizon's really gone anyway with the sun setting. So, okay. One even questioned whether I could stay IFR without a functioning attitude indicator. So after a brief back and forth, I ended up at a VFR altitude of 11,500. I don't like this part.
I don't either.
All right, let me legally explain what's happening. The equipment that is no longer working is required for IFR flight. Somehow the controller seems to have conflated that with your ability to be on an IFR flight plan. That is not true. You should have stayed IFR and treated that way. If they made you cancel and stay VFR,
yeah, I don't.
that doesn't make any sense.
That's up to the pilot.
Mm-hmm.
They shouldn't be pressuring you for that.
Well, they're setting feedback and has a happy outcome, so let's keep going.
Okay.
Okay. Eventually, near Triad, I found a break in the clouds as expected and descended in visual conditions where I landed uneventfully at Juliet November X-ray. All right, let's stop right there. This plan of yours worked. I don't know that every pilot on an IFR flight plan in GA would think about this. Hey, my attitude indicator's out. Okay, well, we've practiced this 1,000 times in training. I can go in the clouds. Yeah, you could, but why not stay out of them? I think this was a great idea, and it sounds like looking ahead. You didn't freak out and try to divert to somewhere over the mountains. Good plan, and you were patient. The airplane wasn't falling out of the sky, but it does take a little bit of patience and experience to realize, hey, this is going to work out. We just have to get to this place where I can fly this airplane and see planet Earth the whole way down. Okay.
Right.
Looking back, I think continue on top towards known VFR was the lowest risk option. Shooting an approach into mountainous terrain with icing potential and no attitude reference just didn't make sense. We agree.
Yep.
If I could do it again, I don't think I would change much, except for maybe pushing back a little more about not canceling IFR. Okay, so you did cancel your IFR. You want to pause and say anything about that?
Yeah, I would say don't be afraid to push back on that.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. I mean, the controller can't force you to cancel.
Right. You're an emergency. It doesn't make of course you're still IFR. That's the way you should have been treated till the rest of the flight was over.
Until the end of the flight.
Right.
So let me try to remember this correctly. And I don't know the FARs as well as I know the Army regs. Mm-hmm. But the caveat here for us in the Army was that if this thing wasn't working, you were restricted not from filing IFR, but from being IMC. That was so intentional flight into IMC with an attitude indicator fail was not authorized.
Okay, that makes sense. But
in the FARs, it's the other way.
Further. You can't you can't take this plane you can't take it on an IFR flight.
From the start.
Somebody's reading the regs and I'm forgetting something.
But you're already there.
You're already there. Yeah, it doesn't mean Yeah, okay, go back to where you started. Let's do this over again. No. We're in the air. We're flying. We're on a flight.
Yeah, we are IFR.
We were legal to take off. We were legal to be IFR when we started. It doesn't change because of something breaking in flight.
Right.
Okay. I'm not even going to try to remember that rule.
I would just say,
but it's not the same as the Army. I could say that. For sure.
Okay. So in that situation, you're over an overcast layer. Mm-hmm. And the plan, the discussed plan with air traffic is I want to get to the nearest VMC. Mm-hmm. That's a good plan. That's good. I like that. Let's not descend through the layer. If we have the gas and the range to get to where this layer ends, let's continue to do that in the mode of flight that we're in now. Because you don't know really what down the road, what trouble you're going to get into now if you're VFR. And the potential decisions that's going to force you into, like, hey, there's a layer up here now that I'm coming up on that looks higher or whatever. I'm going to get stuck here. I don't know. I liked the plan of just finding VMC and then canceling.
I have the regulation on the screen.
Okay,
for IFR flight, the following instruments and equipment are required. Number 7, a generator or alternator of adequate capacity. Number 8, a gyroscopic pitch and bank indicator with an artificial horizon. And number 9, a gyroscopic direction indicator, a directional gyro or equivalent. So number 8 and 9 were gone. That is, okay, it's a valid discussion to have. Yeah, they're valid. They need to have them. So this is going to make this flight in IMC significantly more difficult. But for the controllers listening, that doesn't make them, shouldn't put them in a situation to force them to cancel IFR. Don't do that.
Right.
Treat them accordingly. Headings, vectors, hard altitudes, comply with minimum vectoring altitudes, all the things. Treat them like they're IFR because that's what they are.
I agree.
Okay. Where was I? For the duration of the flight, I had this video from the AOPA Air Safety Institute playing in the back of my mind, and in particular, the pilot's decision to go back into IMC conditions with failed vacuum instruments. Having this replay in my mind throughout the flight absolutely influenced my decision to continue in search of VFR conditions versus trying to divert somewhere closer and attempt a descent and approach through the clouds. I'll try to put a link to that video in the show notes. Huge shout out to the controllers that night. They were calm, supportive, and let me work the problem without pressure. It's a good reminder how much teamwork exists between pilots and ATC when things don't go as planned. I just put a couple notes down here in blue in case we haven't covered it. I want to highlight when you are talking to ATC and you're in an emergency, you want to let them know what's wrong, what you need, and how they can help. You did that, and it probably didn't take you long to do it.
No.
That's what they're waiting to hear. Tell us what's wrong. Most controllers won't understand what those instruments do or how important they are. Don't care. What do you need from us? I need you to find a place I can land VFR. Done. Put the supervisor to the task and find a VFR airport.
Right.
That you can have, like you said, clear skies or maybe scattered. Let's talk about pre-flight planning.
Okay.
When you go on an IFR flight, what kind of weather planning are you doing as a pilot? Just put yourself in his position. GA, nighttime, 11,000 feet, so relatively low considering your King Air time. But what are you thinking about?
Especially at night, widespread. I just want to know what the base, kind of what the ceilings are widespread. To answer this question, how far do I have to go to get to good weather if something goes wrong? We've talked numerous times about single engine, this sort of night over the mountains, IFR weather, single engine. I'm probably not doing that. That's outside of my personal minimums.
Single engine service ceiling, if I remember right, in the Seminole, which is a far less capable aircraft than the Baron. Please, I'm not making a comparison, but just my experience in light twins, you could not go above probably 6,000 or 7,000 feet with normal temperatures. And that's where these hills and mountains are.
Yes.
That's
Not my favorite thing to do.
something to consider.
Right.
Please. We consider it on our flights in a jet. When we go over the Rocky Mountains, we have to know our drift down altitude to clear all this terrain in emergency descent. Can the aircraft maintain higher than those mountains? And in most cases, 100% yes. But it's a consideration in an emergency when you're descending for a cabin pressure altitude and you want to get down to 10. You can't do that. How high can we go? How high do we have to maintain in this airplane with one engine and can't do it with the weight that we're at? We look at that constantly throughout a flight.
Yeah. So we weren't allowed to go anywhere without an Air Force weather briefing. In that briefing, it would indicate widespread IFR conditions. That's sort of a red flag. Like, hey, okay, what? How widespread? What does that mean for us? Can we get to somewhere? If we lose instrumentation, if we lose, whatever the scenario is, it needs to be considered though. Mm-hmm. You can't just say, okay, I can take off here and my destination is, I'll get into my destination. Okay. Well, what if your destination changes? What if it's,
Yep. A good technique, I think, for GA, pick all the airports along the route that have TAFs and look at the forecast. It's a general idea of when I can expect, and try it as one of them, it's very close to your destination, when I can expect to find VFR conditions in a forecast. And not just VFR, the 1,000-foot ceilings and 3 miles visibility. We're talking VFR up to and including the cruise altitude that you're flying at.
that is super important. Okay. Or at least a descent from the minimum en route altitude for IFR operations.
Yes. Right. So, for example, let's say the minimum altitude over these mountains is 8,000 feet. Can I get to 8,000 feet and basically see the earth? Can I see the ground? Because in a condition like this where I don't want to go back into IMC, I want a horizon. I want references to things that make me feel comfortable without these indications. And that's basically VFR. I ran into this on check rides with applicants all the time. It's a very hard concept for them to grasp until they're in the airplane and it's happening to them. Hopefully the listeners are taking that from this show. VFR doesn't just mean 1,000-foot ceilings and 3 miles viz. Try to think higher. Where am I at? How do I get down to the ground and land in VMC?
Yeah.
That is really getting into your weather planning.
Yes. Good.
I think you did a great job using your ADS-B. For those of you who don't know, the ADS-B in weather capability with weather coming off of ADS-B antennas is great. With the influx of internet and airplanes, I think that's going to happen pretty quick. It's going to become normal, I think, for GA to have live, up-to-date internet, actual signal from satellite. I think that's coming. We know people will have it already. I did want to mention this, and we're not giving them an official endorsement here, but Sentry is a device you can have in your general aviation airplane that can be calibrated. You and I had one when we went to AirVenture.
Yeah.
It can turn your ForeFlight into an attitude indicator. Excuse me. So you can turn your iPad into the instrument that you just lost.
Yep.
And it's calibrated to the position of the airplane. When you turn, it looks like it's turning. It works. It's a great backup.
Yep. We had to have one in the King Air.
Oh.
Yep. We flew with one every time.
I don't think I knew that. Okay.
Yep.
Was it suction cup to the window for
Yes.
For stability?
Yep.
Okay, so an attitude indicator is great to have when you're confused. And if you did have to go into the clouds, how nice would it have been to look down at your yoke-mounted iPad and have an attitude indicator knowing, all right, I'm wings level. It feels funny, but I'm wings level.
Yep.
We're good. Okay.
So we didn't have a mount for the iPad except for the Copilot. So the Copilot mounted iPad. So the other guy just held would just hold it in front of the pilot flying.
They were their mount.
Yeah.
That's creative.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, one more point I want to talk about and see what your thoughts are on this. As far as range and the aircraft can go, if you're on a flight like this and you knew you had to fly over IMC, I'm not saying don't go, but you need to be aware of where you need to go to get to VMC, and that comes down to range in your airplane. If your plane can't make it to VFR under ideal conditions, you need to rethink your flight plan. There's no reg that says that.
Right.
Nobody says it's illegal to fly if you're going to be IMC the whole time. And there may be flights where you just can't reach VFR.
Yeah.
Or a position where you could descend from cruise altitude all the way down in VMC conditions. But at a minimum, you should know where I can break out in 1,000 to 1,500 foot ceiling. So I have a little bit of room between IMC and the ground. Your thoughts?
Couldn't agree more. This happens, I'm not going to say all the time. It doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen. It's happened several times in my career, just in our airspace, where an aircraft has a fuel issue. They have a physiological issue. They have somebody on board that's sick. They need to get down. Mm-hmm. But they're VFR, and they're trapped on top of a layer. Mm. And they don't have the fuel to make it out of that layer. Or they don't have the bladder to make it. You know what I mean? So, like, somewhere their planning fell apart. Mm-hmm. And we're there as controllers to help you through those situations, but just understand that your lack of preparation and planning placed a burden on the system that is taking resources away from other aircraft. Mm-hmm. So being a good user and a steward of the NAS requires you to understand and be able to answer these questions before you take off. Mm-hmm. Look at the satellite. Look at where the clouds are, and say, okay, well, once I'm out in the middle of this overcast layer at 7,500 on my flight, what happens now in the middle of this thing? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm on top and I'm VFR, but now what? If something happens right here, am I going to do? Mm-hmm.
I would say, especially at nighttime when you can't see those clouds coming, mm-hmm. and it's very hard to see until you're in them, that you're in IMC. It's just something to have in your mind when you're doing your planning. Have points along the way. Okay, if I all of a sudden have to land here, where's the closest VFR? It's an important question that every pilot, VFR or IFR, should be able to answer. And it's not just a little green dot on the screen. It's from where you're at in the sky back down to an airport.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Good.
Great scenario. I'm glad it worked out. I don't hesitate to call back and talk to that controller too. Thanks for your work. I appreciate it. You guys got me down. I want to talk about the cancel on IFR thing. I'm not sure that was something I would do again. Let's walk through that.
I think that would be great.
Yeah. Especially if it's coming from a good outcome. Hey, everything worked out. We didn't break any rules. You guys helped me big time. Thank you.
I wish that that could happen more often. Stuff comes up every day where it's a new thing. We're trying to problem solve or working something out between the pilot, between us, and then they just go on their way. There's no debrief. There's no, hey, did that work? What would have been better? Mm-hmm. This is what you could have done different for us. Mm-hmm. And so I think it stunts learning for everybody by not having that sort of discussion. The other problem is, okay, at 1:00, I had this event, and an hour later, I'm gone. Mm-hmm. And 2 hours later, you land and you call back, and the suit that was there, they have no idea what, Mm-hmm. So then it would have to be a very intentional hey, I want to be able to connect with that controller and the soup that was there. But I think in some cases it would certainly be worth the effort.
I agree. But don't be afraid to call. I mean, it's not like somebody's waiting for you to call and say, I got him. Let's talk about all the things they did right or wrong. No, they are genuinely interested in what happened, and you're making that clear right now. You want to know the outcome. How did we get to this point? What did you think about what we did? What could we have done better?
Right.
It's okay. Don't be afraid to call them and talk about it.
Yep.
All right. Anything to add?
No.
Thank you. I'm looking for initials Alpha Whiskey. And thank you for supporting the show.
Yes, thank you.
Moving on. Music time. Feedback time.
Feedback.
You want number one?
Number one from Emperor Captain Echo Delta. Comrades, recently I was discussing currency requirements for passenger carrying flights as they apply to individuals with multiple category and class licenses. Specifically, we went very far down the proverbial iceberg crevasse on what the absolute minimum number of takeoffs and landings would be for someone with rotorcraft, glider, and single multi-engine land and sea, and what aircraft would be most efficient to obtain currency in. Such are the chats that come with air park life. This is interesting. Anyway, this got me thinking. I know there is an ATC license, but don't recall you ever having discussed currency requirements for working traffic. What are they? Do the licenses expire? What happens if you fall out of currency? Inquiring penguins want to know, mainly so I can use it as a stumper question for the next flight review I conduct. Echo Delta. So, to the first part of this, yeah, that sounds like sounds like kind of a nightmare to work through. I think you need an Osprey. You need a tilt rotor. This would solve most of your currency problems.
An Osprey with floats, I think, would solve all of them.
Absolutely. That's what you need. There, it's fixed. We fixed that problem. On to the next.
Oh, hold on. Air park life. An air park, for those of you who don't know, there are magical places in this world that you can have a house that's very close to or on a runway next to it, right next to the runway.
Yeah, not on the runway.
Not on it, but
that would be a runway incursion.
I'm at your front porch. You walk out, maybe go 50 yards, and there's a runway.
There's the runway.
Like on the ocean. You're not on the ocean. You'd think. Your
garage houses an airplane.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
That is a magical place. Okay, so is there an ATC license? We do get, I don't have it here, we do get cards, just like, it looks just like the one you get from the FAA. Mm-hmm. It just has our certificates for tower controller, TRACON controller certificates on there.
It's specific to a location. It says the place.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You can't use that and just go work at Duke one day. Although you would probably be better than them, but on day one.
You would be like, you know what I'm going to say? You would be like, what's his name? Bobby. What's the guy's name from Pushing 10? You just show up with your feather and your chair. Yes. Okay, and you plug in. You're like, here's my license. You plug in. You just start working traffic. Okay, that's what it would be like. All right. So we do have the little card. It does say Triad specifically on there, and it says Tower and TRACON, your ratings, what they are. You do have to have currency, and it sort of depends on what role you're fulfilling. But if you are a fully certified controller, for example, at Triad, you have currency requirements for the Tower and the TRACON every month. Mm-hmm. And you must get 8 hours of actual being on position working traffic time in each area a month. Working standalone clearance does not count. You must be on a control position, local or ground, in the Tower. or on a radar scope in the TRACON. Training someone else does not count.
It should count as double.
It should, but it doesn't. So those are the requirements. If you go uncurrent, you cannot work until you get a check ride from a supervisor. A check ride, yes. Where a supervisor plugs in with you for a period of time.
From the kitchen.
From the kitchen. No. It's from the bathroom. Anyway. They plug in with you. They make sure that you didn't forget how to do the job. Since like 3 days ago when you worked last. Most of the time, under normal circumstances, you do not have any problem meeting your currency. Mm-hmm. But sometimes you can get caught in a thing where, man, I just haven't been in the tower all month, or I didn't have any mids, because normally you could just get all your time.
Right, because everything's combined. That counts.
Right. You're getting everything on the mid. Mm-hmm. You work 2 mids a month, and you're basically done. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's not regularly a problem,
but it definitely can be, especially most buildings are full of trainees. It can absolutely be a problem. Probably not as much in TRACON only or tower only facilities or centers, but up-down facilities where you are tasked with being certified and current in 2 rooms, that is a challenge.
Yeah. Let's say you get sick, or you have to take some sort of medication that has you grounded for a couple weeks. Mm-hmm. That could become a problem depending on when it happened in the month.
Yep.
So the beginning of the month, because it goes by calendar month. So the beginning of June, I got sick. I took these pills. I was down for 2 weeks. You could conceivably, especially in one area or the other, not get your currency.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
We track it. The soups are good about going and looking at the dashboard. It shows everybody. They're green, they're yellow, they're red, whatever. And
I don't remember that.
Yeah, it's in
a place.
One of the places, one of the many websites. Anyway, it just gives you a snapshot of the whole facility on who's current and who's not, and so they can sort of adjust where you're going to go based on that.
Had I turned around and went back to ATC after I quit, that little certificate would have been good, that little license in my pocket for a while. Mm-hmm. There would have been some paperwork to make me an employee again, but I think I could go up to 90 days where I wouldn't require retraining, like going back through the classroom and all the things, where I could just plug in with a soup, check them out, boop, 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 boop. When you came back from your deployments, you had to go through training because you were gone for too long.
Yes.
You had to do a classroom box. You had to do sims. There's a certain period of time. I think it's 90 days where you wouldn't have to do all that. But just as a matter of information.
Yeah, I forget what the cutoff is to have to go back to classroom. It might be a year.
I thought it was 90 days. Well, I'm past it no matter what at this point.
Maybe, yeah. I don't.
Cool. Good question, Echo Delta. I get number 2 from Emperor Captain Papa Delta. How do you keep track of IFRs in non-towered airports? Everything is one in or one out. So how do you track how you've closed that airspace because there's someone you released or someone just landed but hasn't canceled yet? I can't remember the key command. I used to put a little yellow circle on a dark scope with some 3 to 5 miles. It was just a big visual reminder. The strip for that aircraft was at the time when I was there, I'm not sure if you guys still use them, was required to be sitting there waiting for a cancellation, which was it CL we wrote? Mm-hmm. So until that was done, that airspace was protected with a visual representation, which is essentially the memory aid. The strip was there, and some people you didn't have to. I would mark a time of when they went on to CTAF, so we knew roughly how long it had been.
You're supposed to do that.
Okay.
Frequency change, FC, write the time.
Okay. Another question. Could you use a ghost track for that? Put a ghost track on the airport with the name of the airport, remove it once your radar ID the departure or the arrival is canceled. AG saying yes. I don't remember what the key command for that was either.
That's the preferred method now.
Okay.
All you have to do is type in what you want the data tag to say.
Okay.
So you could type in block 4000, slew, click. It puts a tag
on the screen. Okay.
on the screen that says block 4000. Then you can put into the scratch pads, Coat Factory. You could put the altitude, whatever you want to put in there.
And that's what people do now.
Yes.
Okay. Is this a standard procedure or will be different in each TRACON? It's interesting. This has come up many times in slow days where people are looking through the books, especially in buildings with a lot of trainees. There is nothing in the 7110 that specifically endorses this practice of what we call blocking airspace. But that's what we're doing. We're saying nobody go near this airspace from 3,000 feet and below, for example, if they're climbing to 3. So basically 4,000 is the first usable altitude. In an airport that's adjacent to another facility, we do have to coordinate with that. Coat Factory is the most guilty of those.
Yep.
You have to call Duke and say block, which is don't go near this place and this altitude, block 3 and below at Coat Factory. They usually say okay and hang up. Some initials, some references done. And when that airplane for departure, for example, does come off and you've radar identified them, you're no longer protecting that airspace. Now you're protecting the plane. And provided their distance away from the boundary is more than 1.5 miles going away from it, you can call Duke and say cancel the block.
Yep.
If it was going in the direction of Duke, it would be a handoff. That was who the block was for. And they say radar, and they know. Sometimes it's implied that they would cancel the block, but it's interesting there's no specific guidance in the 7110 that says that practice is legal, but that is standard across the NAS. Ask any controller, that's what they do.
Yeah.
They block the airspace, and blocking is by altitude and how far away. Great question. You'll get a million answers. 5 miles, 3 miles, who knows? Depends on what's coming off.
It does depend, and it's sort of, to me, it makes sense that the distance is such that it's enough time if this plane departs and doesn't call you, and they go on course, that it's room enough for you to turn and maneuver the plane that you are talking to avoid that plane. 3 miles is not enough.
No, it's not. But altitude, 1,000 feet, is fine. And that works no matter how close you get.
And that is all a form of non-radar separation. A block is just non-radar. It could be accomplished without looking at the scope. So you have to be very careful using radar, which is lateral separation, the distance between two targets, as the form of separation. Be very careful with that.
Agreed. South radar position at Triad is full of conflicting missed approaches and approaches going into several airports that are kind of grouped together. And blocking is a task that must be understood in training before they get their training wheels taken off. That's very hard to get that concept. But once you have it and can manage your airspace and what you're blocking for, it sort of makes the job a lot easier.
Yes.
They finished with a note. Thanks for all your hard work. It's an amazing resource, and the pressure to start my private is increasing with every episode. Regards, Papa Delta from the Golden Gate Bravo. Well, good luck, and go get it. Get started. Go take a Discovery flight, and you'll be hooked, and you'll figure out a way to make it happen.
Yep. Cool.
You get number 3, and I'll put this awesome picture on the screen.
It is quite a picture. Number 3 from Supercaster Kilo Oscar. Greetings, AG and RH. In light of the recent government shutdown, I had a question about VFR flight following or filing IFR on a clear day in my sporty Cherokee. Since AG is overworked and underpaid, does he really want to deal with me right now? I know you guys always preach it's better for us, the pilots, and you, the controllers, if we're all communicating, but is that true right now? I just don't want to add any more stress to the situation when I could just mind my own business and not talk to anyone. Hopefully this will be over soon, and this question won't matter. Also attaches the sky above Triad last night at 30,000 feet, not in the Cherokee. Possibly from that other airline's Atari Ferrari. See ya.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
What a beautiful picture.
It is. I can actually see the airport.
Huh. Oh, yeah, in the bottom right corner.
Bottom right corner.
Huh, very cool.
Yep. This picture was not visible to the naked eye from the ground in any way, shape, or form that I could tell.
There it is. Look at that.
Yep.
Huh. That's cool.
That is cool.
Let me zoom back out. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Okay. This is kind of a touchy subject, but yeah, there were times during the shutdown where we were fully staffed. Nothing was weird. Everything was working. Everyone was there.
Every position that would normally be open was open.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, yeah, if you got to go somewhere, go somewhere. Get flight following, file IFR, whatever you like.
Mm-hmm.
There were times, though, where we were very short. And during those times, and I think people may have left this on the ADAs a little bit more than it should have been, but, prax approaches are not, we're not doing prax approaches right now. We're not doing pattern work right now. We're short. It's a strain. So there were times where we did that. And I guess during those times, maybe don't go flying or just, the problem is if you're out there and you're not talking to anybody, you might be just as much of a burden. Because now I'm not talking to you and you're still there and I can't, you still are a plane I have to avoid.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm not sure exactly how to handle that. I think if you have to go, I would say just call air traffic.
Mm-hmm.
If you absolutely have to. Doing pattern work at a Class Charlie is probably not a have to. I don't have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be very careful because we are there as public servants. We are there to provide a service to the public.
Mm-hmm.
There's an agreement that we have with the public to compensate us for that service. When that agreement falls into disarray, as it did recently, it makes it really easy for controllers to say, hey, you are not upholding your part of this agreement, and I still am, but give me a break here.
Mm-hmm.
There is a mental aspect to doing a job, especially like this one, and not getting compensated. It cannot be overlooked. It cannot be overlooked as saying, oh, well, you'll get back paid eventually. It isn't about that. It's just it's more the idea of it, that you're asking me to do this thing that is deemed essential, critically important for the safety of the flying public, and asking me to do it for nothing. It puts a strain. It does. It puts a strain. It changes the dynamic. It changes the relationship between the users and the controllers. And we want to do what we're supposed to do. But I think it's kind of crazy to pretend that it doesn't have it's not going to have an effect.
And that's what I meant when I said you're human. It's
Right.
absolutely going to have an effect.
Right. Right.
I appreciate you being careful there. I'm no longer a federal employee. I could share my opinion on it.
Yeah.
If for some reason they start limiting flights, IFR flights, ask yourself, should I really be out there flying? And I'm 1200 code. It doesn't matter. I'll echo what you said. You're still an airplane that air traffic has to work around. You're still there. You're still physically present in the sky. And on east of the Mississippi, it's nearly impossible to stay 30 miles away from a Charlie or a Delta for your entire flight to stay away from traffic. You've made that up. You're always going to be somewhere could be a conflict for another airplane. Not saying ground yourself, but be very careful in determining what is necessary and what can wait. And ask yourself, do I really want to be up there being another airplane to protect in a situation where there could be a staffing limitation? There could be a controller who's just had it. They're at the edge. Do I need to be up there in that environment right now? And a lot of the times for GA, it might be, no, I don't. I'm going to wait. I'm just going to wait. That's all.
Take that opportunity to write to your representative.
Yes. Pick up the phone. You can call them. They pick up. Not the actual member of Congress most of the time, but someone in their office does. And I know I've done that. They actually take note of all that stuff. And you may think it doesn't matter. It matters when they hear from their constituents. Introduce yourself. This is where I live. I'm a member in your district, and I want to talk to you about this. They're going to write down what you had to say, and they keep up with that. They do, and it matters.
It does matter. Yeah. Tell them. I can't go flying today, or I shouldn't go, or I feel like I shouldn't because of this.
All right.
Make it stop.
And American airspace, we take it. We are allowed to do a lot of things that you cannot do in other parts of the world. General aviation is free to roam all the time with very few limitations. Don't take that for granted in a time like this.
Right.
Don't take that for granted.
And not to go totally political here, but I recently spoke with someone that was not from this country. Mm-hmm. And they spent time in another country that has basically the opposite of what we have in terms of freedom. And I'm not just talking about airplanes, but I'm talking about everything. Mm-hmm. And they've been here in the States for 6 months. And they just wanted to impress upon me not to take it for granted. Not to take, because I was complaining about the political system being broken. And they said, no, it really is not. There's actually some beauty in that a political disagreement can result in, a stalemate versus just totalitarian. Nope, it's going to be this way. Mm-hmm. There is no debate about it. He said, don't lose sight of that. There is some beauty in the debate, in it being gridlocked over politics, over, and so I do appreciate that. And I think in the United States, we do tend to take it for granted. But there are freedoms we enjoy here, especially in GA, that do not exist in very many places.
No, we'll talk about red tape. There's no GA flying around 1200 codes in a lot of places in Europe. That's not a thing. You're not going to be able to do that.
Right.
Good luck.
Right.
I don't think you went too political. I think that was perfect and a great way to end the show.
Okay.
All right, we do our best to respond to supporter feedback and let you know when you'll be on an upcoming show. We have half the notes already ready to go for the next one. If you are new to Supercast and supporting the show, thank you. We'll give you a shout out soon. I didn't mention this at the beginning of the show. Today is the last day, the day after the last day. This is the last day to put in your pre-order for the hoodie. Go to opposingbases.com/shop. Put that in. It's an awesome product. I wore it in the rain again yesterday. It does make the rain stay away. It beads up. It's perfect. It's very nice.
It's very heavy duty.
It is. It's a heavy duty. It's a jacket. And it'll probably be my winter outside jacket, just where we are. So go get your order in today. And if you get it in today, we're going to ship by Christmas. It'll ship by December 15th with the new OB logo embroidered on it. You can get it in navy black or gray and small through 2XL. We checked. There is no 3XL, but it does run a little bit loose. So if you're normally a 3, the 2 may work out fine.
Yeah. Yeah, it's plenty loose. I normally wear a large, and the large in that is plenty.
It has made it through one drying cycle on a normal dryer. I didn't hang it, and it did not lose its size. It feels the same.
Excellent.
Yes. So,
Good.
anything to add before the chat?
I do not.
Closing out episode 413 of Opposing Bases Air Traffic Talk. Romeo Hotel.
And Alpha Golf. Goodbye, everyone.
Drop. Opposing Bases is a listener-supported, ad-free weekly podcast. The views expressed on the show do not reflect the opinions or official positions of the FAA or Penguin Airlines. Episodes are for entertainment purposes only and are not intended to replace flight instruction. To get on-time access, bonus content, and full archive access, join the crew at opposingbases.supercast.com.